I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Hello, guys. Happy Tuesday. Welcome. I told you guys I had a surprise guest tonight. So, welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. And tonight, my special guest is Jimmy Dore, and he is here to do the news with me. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hi, great to be back with you, Sabby.
Thanks so much for coming back. So, first and foremost, I want to go ahead. I'm just going to double check Rockfin. I don't know what happened with Rockfin. I'll figure that out later on. All right, guys. So I want to go ahead and get into tonight's story. So let me go ahead and share my screen, show you guys what we're going to be talking about tonight. All right, here we go. So we are going to talk about Hollywood strike. So there are Hollywood employees that have announced that they are officially going on strike. We're going to talk about Andrew Yang, who has exited the Democratic Party and has become an independent officially. And he wrote a letter about that. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Massachusetts state troopers have decided to resign over the jab mandate. So, Jimmy, since you're the guest, which story would you like to talk about first?
Let's talk about Yang.
All right, here we go. All right, guys. So many of you probably know this, but Andrew Yang has decided that he is not going to be a part of the Democratic Party anymore. I don't blame him for that. And he has officially registered as an independent. And he wrote a letter about that. And I want to go ahead and share a piece of that. And then, Jimmy, I want to get your opinion about this as well, because he talks about his experience being a part of the Democratic Party. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so here we go. I'm only going to read part of this, you guys, but there's some key parts in here I want you to hear. My goal is to do as much as I can to advance our society. This is coming from Andrew Yang. I'm going to jump down here to the third paragraph. On a personal level, I'll admit there has always been something of an odd fit between me and the Democratic Party. I am not very ideological. I'm practical, making partisan arguments, particularly expressing what I often see as performative sentiment, is sometimes uncomfortable for me. I'm going to jump down here and say I've seen politicians publicly eviscerate each other and then act collegial or friendly backstage a few minutes later. A lot of it is theater. I've also had people publicly attack me and then text me or call me privately just to make sure that we are still cool. It just had to be done for appearances. One very senior Democrat member of Congress texted me to say, I'm sorry to see you go, but I know you'll do as much good as you can from the outside, and eventually remember the outsiders become the insiders. Breaking up with the Democratic Party feels like the right thing to do because I believe I can have a greater impact this way. Am I right? Let's find out. So I'm going to pop out. All right, Jimmy, I want to get your take on this. How do you feel about Yang's statement? And do you feel that he's being genuine? Because some people are saying that they feel like Andrew Yang's just trying to sell books.
Well, I don't know what's his still don't really know his real reason. Do you? What do you think his real reason is? I don't really. That didn't make this idea that there's people posturing in politics is theater. Yeah, yes, we all know that. That's what they mean when they say someone has political talent. What they means is that they're a good talker and they can get people to go along with their ideas. And the way you do that is through theatrics, and you do that through argument. But I don't understand what in that statement. What what is, I know why I left the Democratic Party. Did you see that stuff in his statement of why he left the Democratic Party? But I'll say this about Andrew Yang. I think he is sincere. I don't think he's. Um, it was sad to see him go along. He was on my show, and we disagree about things, right? I think he's sincere in his UBI, but he's also sincere in how to fund it, which is messed up. And he's sincere when he says that he doesn't believe in the $15 minimum wage. He's sincere about that. But which means that he's of good faith, but he just has bad ideas because where he comes from, right? So he's an entrepreneur. He comes from the business angle. That's his point of view. And so he doesn't have the point of view as like, well, if we give everybody a job that pays a living wage, that will actually help our economy more than anything, as FDR proved. And he says, well, what about the small businesses that can't afford to pay a minimum wage? Well, then they shouldn't be a business. If you can't afford to pay a wage to the people generating your living wage, then you should go out of business. That's what I tell people. They go, well, what about the small mom and pops? You mean the small mom and pop gets to have a living wage, but the people who work for them don't? That doesn't fly in my world, okay? And so that's the conversation I had with Andrew Yang. But as far as him leaving, and so we laughed when he was on my show. We laughed about him. I said, this was like, say, March of when was he on my show? It was way before the election. It was still when the primary was happening. And I go, well, I can't wait to see you endorsing Joe Biden. And he laughed. He goes, it's not going to come to that. And of course, that's exactly what happened. He endorsed Joe Biden, and he became a complete, whatever. But I thought he had the best critique. He was saying the things Bernie should have been saying. Like, the problem isn't Donald Trump. The problem is the system that gave us Donald Trump. And I thought that he came the closest to saying those things. And he said, the more we focus on Donald Trump, the less of stuff's going to get done. I mean, he had a valuable perspective. Now, again, I disagree with his remedies on a lot of things, but I think he had a valuable perspective. And I think he's going to, he's like, he would be like, a compassionate conservative.
um. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got it. Okay, I think it's gone. Oh, it might be you. Hold on. Check. Okay, it's gone. I have a question about his UBI theory, because what's been said to me is that in the long term, UBI may not work because landlords, or especially landlords, because they know that you're now getting this UBI, this extra money, that they could in turn say, well, I'm going to increase your rent because you're getting an extra $1,000 a month now. What is your opinion about Andrew Yang's UBI?
Well, my problem is how he funds it. He doesn't want to tax the businesses. He wants to take the tax the people he's given the UBI to, and then he wants to lower if you're getting Social Security. We're going to take that money down if you're going to get the U. So I disagree. But the general idea of his UBI is I agree with, and I think that it was good to see a guy like that who's respected for like numbers, and respected. That wasn't his campaign slogan. It's about math or something like that, and so he really moved the ball forward in that way. But people don't realize that what he's pushing is, I just totally disagree with the way it's funded and the way it's implemented. And I don't know about that argument, right? They say, well, I mean, you could say the same thing. Well, if you raise the minimum wage, landlords will just raise their, I don't know what the answer to that is. That's maybe above my pay grade.
One of the things that he said since he announced that he's become an independent is that he's going to start a new third party.
Right. The problem is we don't need another third party. That he's, it's not going to be a lefty party. It's going to be an Andrew Yang kind of business forward party. Which I mean, hey, I, I wish him success. Honest, if he could start a third party uh, that could compete with the Democrats and the Republicans, that's fantastic. All the more power to him. I just hope that the party that he decides to found is based on the same things that we like. Of course, the principles that we like. And but I don't know. I mean, do you think he's going to stand up to the military-industrial complex?
No,
Do you think that they're not going to take corporate money in that third party? I bet they are. So as soon as you start taking their money, it's over.
that's a
But
good
what do you?
point.
Yeah. So
I
I'd have to see his plans.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a name for the party yet either, which makes me wonder about all of this. He also said he's going to promote his new book when he announces like the party, the name of the party. So I just don't know. And then another thing I wonder too, if he, let's say he won the mayor race for New York City, would he still want to leave the Democratic Party?
No, I mean I don't know. I doubt it. Who knows? Who knows if if the Democratic Party is putting him up to this to diffuse the movement for a People's Party. I mean, who knows? I mean,
Mhm.
anything's possible. If you can think it, the CIA has a plan for it. So, yeah, that's an interesting. I wonder. I can't wait for the first person to ask me, hey, if you would have won as a Democrat at the mayor, would you have quit the Democratic Party once you have a little power inside it? Um, I don't know. I don't. Honest, I think that Andrew Yang though is good to have around. He gets people thinking about things at least.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. Um, I want to go into the second story, which is about the state troopers. And this is local for me. So, for those who don't know, this is happening in Massachusetts. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I was actually surprised when I heard this, but I guess nowadays I shouldn't be surprised with anything that I hear. So, this came through. Dozens of Massachusetts state police have resigned over a jab mandate. For those of you who don't know, I got to use that word. It's YouTube. It's not me. And this is being done by the union. So listen to this, guys. Dozens of Massachusetts state police troopers have put in their resignation papers following the state's 1-9 jab mandate. The State Police Association of Massachusetts has said, under Governor Charlie Baker's executive order issued last month, all executive department employees are required to show proof of jab on or before October 17th. So that's coming just around the corner here, or they will be fired. It is unfortunate that the governor and his team have chosen to mandate one of the most stringent jab mandates in the country with no reasonable alternatives. That's coming from the president of the Police Association, Michael Shervin. Shervin said the troopers should have reasonable alternatives to being required to get the jab, such as wearing masks or being tested regularly. So this is the police union that is putting this forward. Jimmy, I'm going to pop out. I want to get your opinion about this because I know you have a lot of experience with unions. You have, law enforcement members that were in your family. I want to hear your opinion about this. How do you feel about it? Do you think it's fair? And do you think in the end, the union's going to get what they want in return?
Well, I'm anti-mandate. I'm where Dr. Fauci was, and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi was a year ago. So a year ago, they were telling everybody you can't have a mandate. If a person doesn't want to take a vaccine, there's nothing you can do about it. And Nancy Pelosi said that's about an issue of personal privacy. So that's where they were last year. All of a sudden, the all that stuff they said, which sounds like principles, weren't. They just totally flipped and threw them out the window. I thought the principle was of privacy. I thought the principle was you can't force someone that's coerced into a medical procedure. I thought if someone wanted, those were all principles that Fauci was saying and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, and somehow it all switched. And and no, and they don't have a reason why. If someone already had COVID and they have greater immunity now than someone who with a vaccination, why do they have to get vaccinated? There's no answer for that. He was asked, Dr. Fauci was asked by Sanjay Gupta on CNN, why would you make someone get vaccinated if they have greater immunity from having COVID? And he says, I don't have a solid answer for you on that. Well, I think you have to have a solid answer if you're going to mandate people get something, and they don't. So I don't know what you can have your own theory about why I can't get in their heads why they're making people take this jab, even though we now know we cannot vaccinate our way out of a pandemic. That's what Dr. Robert Malone said on my show. That's what people are starting. The experts are saying that we're all going to get it at some point. It's going to become endemic, and so this idea that we're gonna keep jabbing people, and I saw a headline in the New York Times that said Israel study with the third jab shows that it will give you up to 12 at least 12 days of immunity, 12 days of protection. So, woo, I could go on that Caribbean cruise. Anyway, so I don't know how you can mandate that the FDA doesn't even approve of the third jab for most people. Uh, and so we know that the vaccination wanes. And in New York State, they're firing 72,000 healthcare workers, and they're going to replace them. They're going to replace them with the National Guard. Now, the National Guard's policy is that they don't have to be vaccinated until June 30th, 2022. So they're going to be replacing unvaccinated healthcare workers in New York State with unvaccinated National Guard people. And that really happens. So that tells me this isn't about health. What is this vaccine mandate about? If this is really about health, what is that? Why would you replace them with unvaccinated National Guard people? It's not about health. Then it's about punishing people who won't take a jab. And it sounds like the undue influence of big pharma.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
very strange to me too, because they, when we were protesting last year to defund the police and also like abolish the police, defund the police, they were telling us that like, no, you guys are in the wrong. We need more cops. That's what they told us. We need more. We need to increase the funding to the police state. That's what they told us. But now we have police officers right here in Massachusetts that are like, yeah, man, I'm about to resign. It just is what it is. We're part of the union, so we got this. And so now we're going to have less police officers. Now all of a sudden it's not a problem.
yeah, right. So so I guess dozens of police officers have submitted their papers for resignation, but as of Monday, only one actually did. But so we'll see. We'll see what's happening. I mean, as of last Monday, so there's still time. October 17th, I think, is the date, right? Isn't that the date for? Yeah. So we'll see if it's how many of them actually resign. But here in the state of California, Governor Newsom, Governor Pretty Hair, I like to call him, he's pushing a mandate on the whole state, and he's also at the same time fighting that mandate for the prison guards. So the prison guards gave him a couple of $1 million to fight off his recall election, and now he's giving a special exemptions to prison guards, for COVID, for the mandate. So it just goes to show you they're all corrupt. I wouldn't trust anything. If they're willing to do that for money, aren't they willing to institute a mandate for money? We all know our governments are captured by corporations, certainly by big pharma, and we all know Bill Gates has got his fingers in everything. He's funding a lot of the coverage of the jabs. He's funding a lot of the coverage of COVID. So when you go to see him be interviewed on PBS with Judy Woodruff, he's paying her to interview him, and people don't know that. He's funding the science and medicine reports on PBS, and the NewsHour. He's funding all kinds of newspaper news. This is Bill Gates. And what does Bill Gates want to do? Bill Gates wants to jab everybody. So and now there's articles being written every day how you can't do your own research anymore. Stop critical. There was a headline in the New York Times how critical thinking isn't helping us now. I'm not kidding. They want you to stop that. It's hilarious. It's like when Joe Rogan questioned whether Joe Biden actually got that jab.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, isn't Joe Rogan crazy? Do you know he got that jab on a TV set that was made to look like he was at the White House. Do you know he wasn't actually at the White House? That he was on a stage that was staged to fool you into thinking what was actually happening wasn't happening? So, how do you not question what's going on with the authority? And this idea that you're not supposed to all of a sudden question authority. Well, I remember Andrew Cuomo said last year when he was getting an Emmy, he didn't trust the FDA, and he didn't trust the process that got us the jabs. All of a sudden, and they gave him an Emmy, and everybody loved him. And all of a sudden, Trump's president, and now you can't ever question authority again. So I'm gonna stay consistent, and I'm always gonna be a skeptic of the government, and I'm always gonna question authority.
Yeah, and I'm really concerned about them firing people because they're not willing to do this. This is becoming a problem. Like, I don't know if you guys are experiencing this in California, but here in Massachusetts, like we have more vacancies than it's crazy how many people have quit their jobs. Some
People aren't
people
going
have
to
quit.
get care.
Oh,
People aren't going to get health care now. In upstate New York, they've closed down they're not going to deliver babies at certain hospitals anymore because 6 of the nurses who work in the neonatal unit quit because of the vaccine mandate. So this is happening all over the place. There's going to be shortages, and they don't care. And why don't care? I don't know. Is it because of the undue influence of big pharma money? You tell me.
yeah. It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. And like when you put these types of restrictions on people and you tell them you can't work here unless you do this, well, if they don't feel comfortable doing it, now they have to quit their job. But those same employers are complaining that they don't have enough employees. They're like, we can't hire anybody. We have nobody here working. Help.
Sabby, when you see people screaming about, there was an article in Salon last week by Amanda Marcotte saying that we have to make Trumpers pay a price for not getting vaccinated. Well, and then Keith Olbermann did also an unhinged rant screaming at the unvaccinated, calling them cowards. And he does, and he's inferring that but in New York City, 72% of the young black people are not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Half the Hispanics aren't. A lower number of Asians. So who is he screaming at? Who are people actually screaming at? They're not screaming at Trumpers. In New York City, it's the black and brown people who are unvaccinated. And you want to make them a second-class citizen? That's exactly what they want to do. And they want to do it under the guise of, no, we're getting back at Trumpers. No, you're going to be hurting a lot of workers, a lot of nurses' aides, a lot of black and brown people. 10% of Chicago's bus drivers just quit because of the vaccine mandate. And now they got nobody to take special needs kids to school. They go, oh, get in an Uber. You think those Uber guys are vaccinated? I've never met one that is. So the cure is worse than the problems, which makes me suspicious of the cure.
Mm.
Being a mandate. The mandate is not. And again, you can't. There's lots of different ideas on how to fight this pandemic. And the ideas that everybody used to understand was you can't jab your way out of a pandemic. And so the idea that people who already have the jab don't create variants is also not true. That gets the virus has to jump around and create a variant inside of someone who's vaccinated, and so of course we're doing it all the wrong way. What we should have done was jab people who are vulnerable, the elderly, the obese, people with comorbidities, people working in hospitals that have to deal with COVID. So those people have been working in hospitals for a year and a half. They went from heroes working on the front lines, risking their lives, to now you're going to take their job away because they're not doing what you want. They're still working with those same sick people. They're still willing to risk their life working with sick people. But somehow the completely corrupted governments don't care. Isn't that something?
Yeah, and I want to remind people too, because I think there's this notion that this is only happening in blue states. I just want to remind everybody, my governor of Massachusetts is a Republican. He's not a Trumper per se, but Governor Baker is Republican. And I don't know if a lot of people know that or realize that. And the media is not going to tell you that. They're just like, oh, it's all these blue states and it's just the blue cities and such. But here I am, and my governor's Republican, and he's doing this as well.
Do your own research. No, I mean, follow the money. I mean, we all know that. Look, I mean, so for Gavin Newsom in California to come out and give a special pass to prison guards, of all people, prison guards. Why? Because you don't want to disrupt the flow of prison labor, right? Because capitalism now has slavery, and it's actually more profitable than slavery. Because if you're a slave owner, you have to pay for the medical care and the room and board of your slaves. Well, guess what? Corporations don't have to do that now. The state of California does that with prisoners. They take care of all their medical care. They take care of their room and board, so you don't have to pay. It's more profitable than slavery right now to have prison labor, and that's why Governor Newsom. So he's got all those pressures. He's got the prison guards who give him money, and he's got the capitalists who want to keep that prison labor going. This is the world we're living in.
And isn't this the reason, like the reason for the recall for Gavin Newsom? Wasn't that because he went to a restaurant when he locked the state down and he went to a restaurant and had like this private dinner without like a mask on or something like that? He wasn't abiding by the rules himself.
Not only did he tell everybody you got to wear a mask and you can't congregate indoors, not only did he do that, he then went to not only a restaurant, he went to probably the most expensive restaurant in the world, the French Laundry, and he was having dinner without his mask, surrounded by people without their masks. And guess who's seated on his right and left shoulder? There was a health insurance lobbyist and there was another health insurance lobbyist on both sides of him. So that's who Gavin Newsom is. And now you wonder why people are skeptical of power when they tell them that they have to be mandated to take a coerced medical procedure. Why would you ever trust Gavin Newsom? You're going to trust Joe Biden? I'm never going to trust the government on this. No, I'm going to do my own research. And they're willing to be paid off and bought out. We all know they are. 2 people from the FDA just resigned. The person in charge of vaccines resigned from the FDA because Joe Biden, who's a corporate whore and takes all the money that he can from Wall Street, Big Pharma, and the military industrial complex, was pushing the 3rd booster before the FDA said we should. And they over politicized it. Who did it? Joe Biden. And so the person in charge of vaccines at the FDA resigned in protest. And we're still supposed to trust Joe Biden? Get out of here.
No, it's so true. It's just, I don't know. There's all this stuff coming out about it. There's just all this stuff coming out about it. It just makes me ugh. I was going to ask also in reference to California because I've been wondering about this as well. Rose McGowan has come out. She came out in support of Larry Elder. I didn't like Gavin Newsom or Larry Elder. I'm just like, whatever. Give them someone else.
Yeah, I don't like Gavin Newsom. That doesn't mean I'm going to jump in bed with Larry Elder. I mean, come on, you don't have to do that way. I don't understand that. I respect Rose McGowan's bravery, courage, tenacity to tell the truth about the Democratic Party. But I guess I'm going to have to disagree with her on that one.
Yeah, well, she was saying that Gavin Newsom had a connection to Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, I'm sure he did. That whole Democratic Party was in bed with them. Are you kidding? Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy how much has come out recently. But that takes me into like the third story, which is the Hollywood strike. And I want to talk about this because this goes into, a lot of times when we watch movies, we don't think about the people on the back end, the people who are not in front of the camera. Production crew, hair, makeup, all those people. Well, it turns out that those employees actually work really long hours, especially to the point where they are falling asleep at the wheel when they're driving home. So I want to share this clip. This was on Twitter, and they have decided to go on strike. So I want you guys to listen to this. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic.
There's a hegemony of exploitation within the film industry. You have people who are multimillionaires who have overall deals who are worth 10, 20, 30, 50 million dollars. You have PAs who, if the minimum wage is 15, they're getting 15. If the minimum wage is 10, they're making 10. A film set is a place where you can basically see like a cross-section of all class dynamics within a singular room.
It's so messed up when you're in a Zoom room and you have people talking about how they're renovating their vacation house, and you're quietly thinking to yourself, if I cut back to eating one meal a day, can I afford to pay my electricity bill this month? I started to accumulate so much debt in order to stick around in the job. And there was even a time during the pandemic where my unemployed friends who got laid off due to COVID was earning more money than how much I was earning.
My day is never not 12 hours.
Working 70 hours a week, trying to turn your body around at 4 a.m. on Saturday when you're watching the sunrise, and then trying to pull into your driveway and just get home without falling asleep at the wheel, and then turning around and then working at 6 a.m. on Monday. It is incredibly unsafe. And there isn't a person who I've worked with who hasn't said, I've almost fallen asleep at the wheel.
I've definitely had moments of drowsy driving late at night. That's pretty common amongst most people.
Sometimes I've hit 70 hours a week on a regular, like we're shooting this for 6 months kind of job, that takes an enormous toll on you. I've watched people spiral into depression and into addiction and lose people that they love in their life. I've watched people miss funerals, miss birthdays over the abuse of hours. We know the money is there. These are all public corporations, and we see their profit margins.
The money is there. The studios just don't want to pay for it. And just to be clear, we're not asking for a rate that'll give us a beach house in Malibu. We're just asking to be able to live.
IATSE's never struck before. A lot of people are uncertain, but to me, this is an absolute must that we get sustainable benefits.
The outcome of these conversations, my hope, is that we rectify the ways that we're exploiting workers in this industry.
And, the things you see on screen are absolutely incredible. There are human hands who are doing that, who are exhausted.
I love being a part of some of the work and content that is created, but yeah, something's got to change for sure.
Okay, so this is huge. Jimmy, I want to get your opinion on this, because without these workers, we have no movies. There is no Netflix. Like you need these people. You need them to make these things happen, and now they're going on strike. I want to get your take on this, Jimmy.
Well, what's encouraging is I think the vote to strike was like 96%. So you're exactly right. So if they go on strike, they can demand a fair wage. So that's the beauty of their union. So hopefully that work. I don't see that not working out for them. And yes, that's capitalism. Again, they're not going to give you a raise because you deserve it. They're going to give you a raise because you demand it, and they can't get this project done without your labor. So nobody's going to give you a raise because they're nice people. They're going to give you a raise because if they don't, they won't be able to get their stuff done. So, and that's what, organizing is. That's the need for labor unions. And they've never struck before. Well, boy, is it overdue, huh? So good for them that they're finally doing. It was, again, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering the number right, it was like 96% voted to strike. So that tells you something when it's that high. So, hey, the teachers showed us that it works, right? That when they strike, they get their demands met, and we'll see what happens. I hope they do strike, and I'll be watching this story closely. And I don't understand how they get away with that. Like, why? So the only thing I can think of, it's like, when I have employees, I have to make sure they have lunch breaks. I have to make sure they don't work overtime. If they do, they get paid. I have to make sure all kinds of stuff, right? Because there's a lot of regulations in California. And how do they get around making people work 70-hour weeks, 20 hours? I heard in the story I read about it said that they didn't give people lunch breaks and stuff like that. And then part of their negotiation with the union is, we'll take away our fines for not giving you guys lunch breaks. Like they're so skeezy. So it's about time, and we need a massive uprising of labor in this country. Again, it's not that we don't have the wealth in this country, as Jack Ma, who told us, we don't spread our money around, right? What happened during COVID? Income inequality got even greater. We took $5 trillion that Bernie Sanders and the squad voted for, $5 trillion, and gave it to the richest people in the country, not the poorest. We gave it to the richest people in the country. So as FDR proved, they should have taken at least $1 trillion of that and put it in people's pockets. They didn't. They won't even give you a $2,000 check. So we have the culture doesn't work for the people anymore, for the workers. And so you're going to see stuff like this. I'm glad. That's how bad it's gotten. And they can see their companies are making all that money. Now, here's why those people can get away with all that. They donate. Right? The movie companies and the banks that finance the movies donate to the politicians, so they own them. And that's how they get to do stuff like that. Like when Governor Newsom said we couldn't have restaurants, even outside restaurants, because of COVID. And then you saw the video where right across the street from an outside restaurant, there was a movie production that had rows and rows and rows of tables set up for lunch. And they get to do that. Why? Because they're donators to the governor and the Democrats, and their bank, the bank that financed that movie, also is. There you go.
Now, Now, I noticed that more and more companies are going on strike. Like since like COVID started, we had Nabisco, we have Frito-Lay. I think Nabisco is still going on actually. And I think Frito-Lay came to some type of an agreement. There's the coal miners in Alabama that are on strike because of BlackRock. There's more and more companies coming out where people are starting to do this. Do you think it's because of COVID, or do you think this was bound to happen anyway?
I mean, I can only make a guess. I think this was bound to happen anyway. I think that 30%, 50% of all wage earners earn less than $30,000 in America. 80% of wage earners live paycheck to paycheck. 50% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. That was before COVID. So things are only worse now. So I've been expecting this kind of stuff, and there have been a lot of strikes. There's been a lot of strikes. You don't hear about them, but there's been a bunch. And so, I can't. You know what's disconcerting to me is that they locked people down out of their jobs, and then they didn't give them an income. Now, the rest of the world didn't do it like that. The rest of the world, if they locked you down, they paid your salary. They didn't do that in America. I don't know what the hell's going on. If that didn't make people rise up and revolt, I don't know what will. So, I mean, they went through a whole summer of protests about police brutality. And what did they do? The Democrats got called to power and they re-upped funding the cops. They created a new police agency, $2 billion in every state. There's now going to be another intelligence agency spying on you. They did the exact opposite of what people want. So, yeah, I mean, so hopefully these strikes will have a big impact. I can only hope, because nothing else seems to get people off the couch enough to go protest for their economic security.
Do you feel that, like, when I look at like the different like generations, because we've been talking about this for a while, I feel like my parents and my grandparents' generation, I feel like they fought more. I feel like they were more, yeah. And so when I think of like my generation, like millennials, I feel like we'll come out for it, but I feel like it has to be something really huge or significant. Other than that, it's like we don't come out the way that like my parents did or like my grandparents did. And I think part of that could be because maybe we're a little comfortable, because we really didn't have to fight. Like I didn't have to fight to vote. It was already done. Like I didn't have to fight for those things. And I feel like in a way, I felt like that made me a little bit comfortable. And so when I saw like those incidents of like police brutality, it's just like enough was enough. But I look back on things and I'm like, could have been doing this all along. Could have been doing this all along. And what do you think is the reasoning for that? Because I know a lot of people came out for Vietnam protests. I know there were a lot of people that were like, no, we do not need to be involved in this conflict at all. Do you feel that maybe it's a generational thing, or do you just feel that America has just changed and we just haven't had to deal with these things before?
I think America has changed. I think that what has happened is that now you, instead of having 50 giant media companies, which is what we had when we had real protests and civil change, and now we have 6 because of Bill Clinton and the Telecommunications Act. And if you don't think that they control the narrative, you're crazy. They have people thinking that a medicine that won the Nobel Prize for Human Medicine in 2015 is some kind of horse paste. That's the power of propaganda. That is the power of propaganda. They can take a Nobel Prize winning medicine and then they can discredit it like that. Because why? Because they own this. There's only 6 media companies. They own them all. You get Google and YouTube to now go in and censor anything you want. 80% of the country gets their news through Google searches. So that's what's happening, right? So they're told over and over and over, oh, everything's okay. You can't. Oh, well, you can't protest. And then whenever you see people protest, like if you see Nancy Pelosi putting on the African scarf and taking a knee, you know that protest has been co-opted. You know that nothing real is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I know that was terrible.
Yeah.
that was like awful. But I think that like in reference to, and I asked Professor Wolf this question too when he came on. What advice would you give to younger people today, like millennials, Gen Z? What advice would you give to them in reference to trying to create change in this country?
You know, I wish I had better advice, but I know that when I started Forced to Vote, I was shocked at how easy the people who consider themselves left rolled over for the establishment and ran interference for it. So there's something that the entire left had agreed on. Forcing a vote on Medicare for all on the House floor was a goal always since 1992. And when we actually had a chance to get it, everybody on the left rolled over. And they're not the left. I'm talking about people like the Young Turks, people with MSNBC contracts, the people at The Intercept like Ryan Grimm. You saw David Sirota talk out of both sides of his mouth on my show. You saw people run interference for the establishment around Medicare for all, which was, and so I don't know what to tell people. That really kicked. And then we do a Medicare for all march in 50 different cities, and the same thing. Nobody covers it. Half the left denigrates it, which tells you they're not really the left. So it shows you how slim the left is. You know who the real left is in America? The people who are out there at those 50 city Medicare for all marches. That's who the left is. That's what we're left with. And they try to denigrate it, call it a red-brown alliance. You know, that's how you get things done. When you get libertarians, right-wingers, and left-wingers marching together, that's when you scare the shit out of them, and that's when you get things done. And that's the last thing the establishment wants. So that's why they have to denigrate the 50-city Medicare for all marches. They have to denigrate Forced to Vote. They have to denigrate anything that would help people. And if you're going to come together, the populist left and the populist right, you can't have that. Although nobody seems to have a problem with Crystal Ball and Sagar. So Crystal Ball and Sagar's a right winger. He wants only one standing blue water navy, which is the United States. And so somehow she doesn't have to take grief for that. Ryan Grimm does a show right now with an ex-Trump advisor on the Hill. So if you're doing that at the behest of the establishment, which Ryan Grimm is, you'll never have to pay a price for that, right? So he's literally doing a show with a Trump advisor. But if I talk to somebody who's a Trumper, I'm going to get castigated in the press, in Twitter, in smear pieces. So you see how that works? So you see Ryan Grimm could go hang out with Trumpers. People from the Trump administration get paid by 3 different billionaires, which is what Ryan Grimm takes. He takes a paycheck from the billionaire who owns the Hill, a billionaire who owns the Young Turks, and the billionaire who owns the Intercept. And you're telling me that's the guy you're going to go to get your lefty news from? So I guess my advice is don't fucking trust people like that. Be skeptical of everybody and watch out for infiltrators because that's how they take you down.
That was deep. that was real. Yeah. One more question, Jimmy, and this is a less serious one, but I have to ask because this question did come up. You're from Chicago. Are you a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan?
So So I grew up on the south side of Chicago, which you would make me a Sox fan, but the Sox had little capitalism came into play when I was a kid. So when I was in like sixth grade or so, the White Sox went to pay television. They had a thing with the White Sox, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Chicago Fire, which was their soccer team. And they did a thing called On TV. So you had to pay $40 or whatever it was a month, and they would send a box that would sit on top of your TV, and then you could get all the sports, right, for Chicago. Well, of course, I grew up poor. My dad was never going to pay money to watch a baseball game on TV. And so I didn't get to see the White Sox growing up. So I got to saw the Cubs because they were on WGN Channel 9 in Chicago. And I got to see them every day play. So I was a Cubs fan. Everybody else in my family is a White Sox fan. I'm a Cubs fan. And I'm a South Sider who's a Cubs. There's a lot of people who grew up like me on the South Side. We became Cubs fans because we couldn't watch the White Sox on TV.
Wow, I didn't know that, but I know like also we have a similar problem here with the Red Sox because the Red Sox are on Nesson and Nesson is a separate thing. It's not even in the basic cable package. So you have to pay to get 100 more channels just to see Nesson, which is crazy. It's crazy.
That's capitalism, baby.
All right, Jimmy, thanks so much for coming on. It's been like a pleasure. I know those of you who are out there and you are like baseball fans, there is a big game coming up tonight. Red Sox, Yankees is do or die. Go Sox.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Sabby. It's great to talk to you. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I'll be on here for a couple more minutes because I would like to go at least till 8. And I want to say hey to all of you. And thanks so much for tuning in. I know some of you said something about Rockfin. Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I was trying to hit go live on Rockfin and like nothing happened. So I will download this video and then I'll upload it to Rockfin. So sorry about that, you guys. But thanks. So Yankees. No. Black in the Empire. Why? I thought you were in Baltimore anyway. Come on. Oh, man. I can see it's already starting, man. It's already starting. Thanks so much, Swanky Teist. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I'm really rooting for the Red Sox tonight. I did find out that Martinez is injured, so he will not be playing, which really sucks for us because I don't know what we're going to do without him. But we'll see how it goes. But it's do or die. It's do or die, you guys. I just want to be able to wake up tomorrow morning and go to work and not have to hear from the Yankees fans. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to have to hear from them tomorrow. That's all. I just don't just one day. That's it. Or on Twitter. I might have to avoid Twitter tomorrow if we lose. Because I know it'll be like all over there and they'll be coming for me. Another one, James Root. I didn't know you were a Yankees fan either. Will you go on Jimmy's show, Sabs? If I'm invited to, I would go. Most deaf. Yes, Eric. Tonight, 2 teams enter, only 1 exits. Oh, man. It's going to be brutal. I see a lot of new faces in the chat too, you guys. A lot of newbies. For those of you who missed last night, let me tell you who's coming this week. Tomorrow, Princess will be here. She is running for governor of Virginia. She's a libertarian and running third party. And she was not allowed on the debate stage. So there's a big uproar about that. I saw the video on Twitter. She'll be here tomorrow. Thursday, I'll be on FHL's roundtable. So you guys, most of you know what the roundtable is. That's like all of us together. That'll be a fun time. Friday, This is Revolution podcast is going to be here. We're going to talk about the Democratic Party in reference to class and race and African-American community and where we can go from here. And then Saturday morning, this is a special stream. Saturday morning, Cynthia McKinney will be here. She was also a third party candidate. She was Congresswoman. She has a plethora of information, just letting you know. She was on Convo Couch recently. She's phenomenal. So I'm excited to see her. So yeah, really exciting week. And Monday, if you missed this yesterday, I told you guys I wanted to do a panel for Indigenous Peoples Day. Looks like that's going to happen. thank you for those of you who reached out to me. Like literally right after that stream, multiple people contacted me and said, you should reach out to this person. You should interview this person. And already got 2 people. Going to try to get one more. But that panel is going to happen. So we will have a panel of indigenous people who are going to talk about Native American history and what Native Americans are going through in this country. We need to get them their land back. And that's a big issue. That's a big problem. So I'm going to talk about that. And that's all I know so far. Things may change from now and tomorrow, but yeah, really exciting week. So thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. Frank and Kitten, yes, you were the one that told me to contact Estes. I did contact him. Unfortunately, he's going to be in Bolivia. So I did try to get him, just letting you know. I saw your message. But yeah, guys, if you're new, like and subscribe and, come chat with me again tomorrow. And if you are not familiar with Fred Hampton Leftists, make sure you check out FHL. I'm affiliated with them. I'm a part of the Fred Hampton Leftist Network. So definitely check that out as well. And there's one of my comrades right there, JB. He disappeared. He was right there. That was JB. He's one of us. He's one of us. Yeah, dude. So, no, Indy left. What is happening here? Is everybody in the chat a Yankees fan? Is everybody here a Yankees fan? Come on, man. I told you guys they're everywhere. What do you think about the Rhode Island mutual aid co-op thing? Jimmy doesn't seem too hopeful, but we need to keep trying. There must be a solution. I have to look into that. I do know, like with Rhode Island, I hate to say it, but sometimes like people forget about Rhode Island because it's so tiny. It's such a small state, but it's like literally like right next to me. But I'll have to look into that and let you know, Robert. Most deaf. Oh, see, Megan, I knew you were a real one. Heck no, go Angels. Anybody but the Yankees, you guys. Anyone. Thank you, Steve. Boston all the way. Oh no, ultraviolet. For those of you who like the Yankees, can you please tell me what is it that you like about them? Other than the fact that they always win. You got to give me another reason. I need another reason. Any other reason. I'm waiting for it. And don't say because the guys are cute, because that's another one that I get from people. Other than they always win and cute dudes. Let me know. I don't see anything. See? There's no other reason. There's no other reason. I rest my case. Did I get Matt's super chat? Let me grab you real quick, Matt. Thanks for the super chat, Matt. Contact Decolonize Buffalo podcast. Thank you. Hold on, let me screenshot. Let me take a picture of this because I'll forget. I'll get off of here. And I will not remember that this happened. Thanks so much, Matt. I will reach out to them. I will do so. Yeah. See? Thanks so much, Brian. They steal all the hot players because they got the money, honey. Oh, Natalie. Oh. You guys know like Yankees players can't have facial hair? Did you guys know that? That's like a rule. See, that's why you got to roll with the Red Sox, man. You can grow a beard here. You can grow a beard. I just saw one that was really funny. Where'd it go? Wesley said Yankees are attractive, but Mets are repellent. Wow. Oh, Wesley. Is anybody a Mets fan? I'm not sure. I don't think I know any Mets fans. Greetings, Roger. Thanks for the super chat. Regarding Bruce Wayne question I raised months ago is number one because becomes and stays a billionaire without doing hurt. So I trust working class Peter Parker more. Ooh, that's a good one, Roger. That is a good one. No, we were talking about this the other night that like if Bruce Wayne really wanted to do good in Gotham or really wanted to help the crime situation in Gotham, why didn't he just take some of his millions and millions of dollars that he has and donate that to the city and help fix up the city? Why didn't Bruce Wayne just do that instead of dressing up like Batman and punching people and stuff? That came up the other night. So Peter Parker, I'm with you. And you know, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So if you did not know that, now you guys know. Spider-Man has always been my fave. And speaking of superheroes, if this pans out well, I'm going to do a special stream on Halloween. If it pans out well, and I'm going to be a superhero. Can't tell you which one. But if you're really into comics, you might figure it out. I'm not going to be Spider-Man. It's a female superhero. This one is for you, Sabby, because all of my other favorite YouTubers are demonetized. Screw you, YouTube. Thanks for the super chat, Mike. Yeah, I know, man. It's brutal, dude. It's brutal out here, I'm telling you. Yeah. Yeah. And one more thing before I let you guys know. Before I let you guys go, Atrice mentioned Squid Game. If you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, Squid Game. I just finished it about 3 days ago. Guys, it's one of those shows. It starts off slow, but at the end of the first episode, you're going to be like, what the hell did I just watch? I'm serious. It will blow your mind. Squid Game. All I can tell you is that people are selected to play a game. That's all I can tell you. Anything else will give it away. But the underlying theme in that show is the pitfall of capitalism. That's what I want you to go in with that mindset. Capitalism. This is what happens. All right, guys, I got to go. Red Sox, Yankees coming on. Can't keep you here. You know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.